Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. Now, in this section, Gregory Brown was cut off. We're not sure what ended the telephone call, but we have our speculations, especially Greg. So you can just come to your own conclusions that you're right. And I'll play it in its entirety, and you'll find out at the end of it where it's just ended. I didn't hang up, he didn't hang up, it just died. And I'll just leave that in there. And he did call back later, and we did continue our conversation. But this is Gregory speaking his mind on what he feels is going on in the Washington State Department of Corrections. So I'll just let you listen to this actual call in his words, and then we will continue it on next week.
Okay. The following morning, I was surrounded by guards who took me to solitary confinement. Ain't that crazy? I was accused of pressing other prisoners, I guess, in the following grievances. They never really explained it to me. They just hurry up and rush me through the process. I was separated from the other prisoner, transferred to a different prison, and I'm never allowed to see the other prisoner again. It's just, I guess they must have panicked. Some of you may have heard the term prisoners' rights movement. Now, using the word movement suggests it's going somewhere. In Washington State, prisoners' rights movement is going nowhere. It's going backwards. It's going in circles. Prisoners complain about the same things over and over and over again for decades, getting nowhere, because grievance coordinators always pretend that issues being complained about have never before been complained about by any prisoner. You can complain about the most common thing. It's cold in here. Turn on the heat. And they pretend that no one has ever in the history of Washington prison ever complained about that. I've submitted hundreds of grievances in my 40 plus years of continuous confinement, and I can't think of a single instance in which any grievance official has ever admitted that an issue had already been resolved in favor of prisoners in response to another prisoner's grievance. In another incident involving Richard Spruill, he complained that he was not allowed to pray during certain hours while on the prison yard. He filed an administrative grievance which acknowledged his right to pray on the yard. But when he tried to pray again on the yard, he was again told he could not pray. So he ignored them because he knew that he could pray. He just won a grievance on it. So he continued praying. And when he tried to leave the yard when it was time to leave, they told him to cuff up, put him in handcuffs, and took him to solitary confinement for disciplinary action. From there, the disciplinary hearings officer checked and determined that he had, in fact, won his grievance saying he could pray on the yard. So he was released from solitary confinement. The next time he went to the yard, he was smart enough to take his grievance with him in his pocket. And predictably, the guards ordered him to stop praying and tried to take him to solitary confinement, but he ignored them again. But he showed them his grievance response, and so they backed off of him and left him alone. Then a couple of days later, he was transferred to another prison, and the guards continued telling prisoners they can't pray on the yard. On another instance, for years, prisoners had no access to ice. Man, during the hot summer months, prisoners were begging for ice. We were ice, please help us, ice. And the administration would tell us, no, you have no constitutional right to have ice. Then we were purchased soda pop from the inmate commissary, and we had to drink it warm. In order to create any semblance of a chill, we had to put our soda pop in the toilets and flush the toilet 1,000 times. But then when I found out that installation of ice machines throughout the entire prison had been approved years earlier, and money to pay for the purchase and installation of those ice machines had been withdrawn from the prisoner's joint welfare account way back around 1979. So I was like, oh man, fraud and embezzlement. I sent letters to the prison superintendent complaining of somebody needs to go to jail for stealing their monies, and all of a sudden, ice machines were installed throughout the entire prison. So the lesson to be learned by these examples is that prison officials just keep doing wrong no matter how many times prisoners complain about the food involved. This level of official callousness is facilitated by them pretending any issue raised by any prisoner has never been raised before. To overcome this false pretense, we must create a system that enables prisoners to publicly share our grievances. That is how important this is. The sharing of our grievances can be facilitated by prisoners simply waiving our right to confidentiality. Once we implement this system, prison officials responding to grievances in any old way they feel it would be the thing in the past, since everybody in the world would now be able to see and compare grievance responses and uncover any instance where the officials have contradicted themselves. Just having this system in place will make sure now all of a sudden they have to fully investigate each grievance and provide a proper response. Otherwise, they're going to get busted in the riot by us comparing grievance responses. This would automatically greatly improve the correction system. Automatically, right off the top, without us even doing anything. Just having the system would improve the correction system for prisoners. Now, anyone who has ever dealt with law may understand the value of knowing that an issue has been previously decided. For example, if you're arrested, you're supposed to be told you have a right to remain silent, you have a right to an attorney, because these rights were created in someone else's case long before you got arrested. The same concept in the issues that have already been decided in prison grievances. Now, what if I had not stumbled upon the document showing the issue regarding occupancy had already been resolved? I would still have no answer. By informing prisoners about previously submitted grievances by other prisoners, any prisoner wishing to file a new grievance will be able to see how best to articulate his issue, and will be able to say in his grievance that his issue was resolved in his favor in a previous grievance. This adds extreme power to his grievance. Past grievance resolutions will become established law in process. This way, prisoners' rights are clearly established and strengthened. And whenever a guard refuses to honor a past grievance resolution, like the right to trail in yard, for example, grievances would then establish conduct complaints, and the guards can be fired or otherwise disciplined who violate established rules and procedures. Which means that they'll stop doing that. That anybody in the world will be able to track prison issues by subject matter, by dates and time periods, by locations and the name of the prison, by the name of the prisoner, and by the name of the prison guard. It can easily be determined that a particular guard is problematic just by looking at his name and seeing how many grievances and what type of grievances have been filed against him. This way, even the worst guard can be identified and stopped. People all around the world will be able to sit in their homes and browse through grievances filed by prisoners and help resolve prison issues. following instructions provided in the system's battle file, which I'll talk about next. Conditions that exist within the prison system will inevitably improve tremendously. Prisons in the U.S. will be fixed forever. Now, I have a theory. And my theory can be tested and verified, I believe. I believe prison guards and prison officials lie so much to a point where at least one half of DOC activity is based off fiction. I'm sitting here doing this time every day, and I see all the lines, and they write in practice, and they go through emotions, and they spend their whole day responding to lies. And I wonder, man, how much money does this cost the taxpayers doing all this work based on a bunch of lies? It's what they do. Half of their work is based on fiction. This means one half of the DOC budget is being wasted on non-existent reasons. Just because the DOC wants to make it look like more money, more prisons, and more prison jobs are needed for them. Department of Corrections is a scam. They rattle prisoners' cages for years and then send these rattled prisoners back out to society to destroy your neighborhoods. And then they literally ask you to pay them for it. Pay them for doing this. And if that ain't enough, they say, he was incarcerated before, and maybe we let him out too soon, in order to manipulate you into voting for longer prison sentences. If anybody is paying attention to this, the DOC is scamming and preying upon society by making up these lies, creating these deceptions, and fomenting chaos behind prison walls in order to trick the American taxpayers into giving them billions of dollars. A proper implementation of my system would expose these scams and cut the DOC budget and expenditures in half. Most people, including prisoners and free people, don't know the many laws that positively impact them. Before now, no one has really cared or taken time to gather, organize, and present the laws that benefit prisoners. Our battle file compiles and organizes all the laws that can be used to benefit prisoners, to improve prison conditions, and to force prison officials to follow these laws and community standards that will make them benefit prisoners. We post relevant statutes, administrative rules, regulations, policies, procedures, national and local standards. We post the names and job titles of all prison and DOC employees and officials, along with the job descriptions and chains of command. We post the names, address, and telephone numbers of medical groups and medical agents, agencies, medical foundations, and associations that have information helpful to prisoners, and forcing prison medical staff to implement proper health care standards and treatment. One of our most prominent features is that we post easy to understand fill-in-the-blank forms that deal with every situation with explicit instructions and citations to applicable law, rule, and procedure, so that anyone can just fill in the blanks and press this button, and wham, stuff starts changing. We post the names. Now let me back up, and I want to say this is important because not only am I sitting here making complaints and attacking issues, but I'm trying to get people all around the world to do the same thing. That's pressure, and that's progress. That's how you get somewhere. You get everybody involved. We post the names, address, and telephone numbers of state and federal government agencies having jurisdiction over prison issues, along with state and federal executives and legislators, with an extraordinary power, business background, and predispositions. We post the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of local television stations, national television stations, radio stations, and newspapers that are interested in exposing prison conditions and aiding in prison reform. is that it informs prisoners and others about the rights of prisoners in a way provided by other sources, with a roadmap for anyone to follow, anyone